Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Game 2 in this best-of-3 series between Team Ion and Team Boom. Boom. Fighting for the tournament lives at this point. Ion taking the first game in a fairly commanding fashion. G-Dove really raking in that solar, but we'll see how this Game 2 turns out. Will Boom be able to bring it back, or is Ion going to take this in a 2-0 series?
When a late-game Vinny build can farm nearly 3,000 solar in 18 minutes.
Compared to like the 1,300 on a school deer.
Well, that's the fun thing about Serona. With feeding that worm gets you a lot of cash. You said 29 a pop, right?
Every time. It's like practically every. I don't know.
Every 30 seconds or so, you do 29 a pop.
It's faster than that. I think droids are like every 15.
Let's say on average. So
it's a lot.
Yeah. It adds up a lot. We do have a quick announcement, though. This is an interesting turn of events. We have found skins, and we don't know what to do with them. You know, me and you, we have so many skins between us. Everyone on the champ team here plays. We're just like, yeah, you know what? We're going to give them away. Yeah.
Give it away now?
Exactly. I think Froggy G's saying that, right? Yeah, one of those days. Where's the Froggy G step?
How does that?
Either way, skins coming your way in Twitch chat. Look for the moderators and look for ESChamp to be giving those away as well. You guys should be joining the conversation on Twitter. Hashtag AwesomeCup. We're going to be giving them away there as well.
We're just going to be giving away. You get a skin, you get a skin, you get a skin. Everybody gets skins.
We're now the
not
Oprah
everybody,
of
a lot of people.
skins. What do we got? We got some Teddy Bear Aylas for those that did not participate. Pirate Derples, Nobots, Demon Skoldirs, Swiggins, both Swiggins, and both Teds. And you know what? Maybe a little bit later, maybe during the finals, maybe some costume parties.
That'd be all right. Those are worth about $50 a piece. So
some very generous donators said give away skins, share the merriment that is Awesome. So you guys can look forward to that while we jump into the draft here for game number 2.
Game number 2.
Game number 2.
Game number 2. Let's see how it works out. Is Boom going to take it into a 3-game series, or is Ion going to clinch it 2-0? Let's find out. Ion banning out Swiggins right out of the gate. Then you have a Coco being banned out by Boom. Ion first picks a Raylan. Now that they got the option, this is the first time we've seen a first picked Raylan in some time. Boom. Then countering with a Scoop and Froggy pick. Ion, their second pick being Penny Fox, since they have that opportunity. Then they ban out Skoldir. They do not want to deal with that.
Not a penny ban, wow.
No penny ban, not this time. They decided to opt out for getting rid of everybody's favorite comfort food in the Coco. But yeah, Skoldir going to get banned out. Then Vinny and Spike banned out by Boom. They do not want to deal with another G-Dove, Vinny and Spike. But you ban the Vinny. You opt to give G-Dove his Ted McPain, which he then decides to pick up. And then finally, Boom countering with a Raylan of their own. So, Ion going for a really burst-heavy push build. Right out of the gate, capable of zoning and doing a lot of damage from a distance or through walls. Boom, they're going to go for something a little bit more gank-centric. They've got Scoop and Frog that can do hammer into dash, followed by a Raylan from behind. But the other reason why they've got a Raylan is to put out those time rifts. Time rifts able to really mess with a Penny if she's not careful, and if applied properly against Ted, can absolutely wreck his day as well. So right now, the draft looking to be a very good one, but I'm willing to put a lot of power onto Ion. That Penny Fox is a very strong character, especially against the Scoop and especially against the Raylan. So we'll see how that ends up working out and whether or not the Raylan's time rips can be enough to stave off the Fox.
Raylan on both sides. This is going to be a treat for both of us, Mr. Wolf, because I don't think we've actually seen a game with Raylans on both sides here in the top 8. But either way, a lot of comfort food here. Maybe not the Coco. I shed a tear for my girl, but at the same time,
we've had enough.
As soon as we saw the Coco ban, it's just like, well, Ion's going to go for the Raylan because that is also what they like to go. So we're going to jump into this. Game number 2 going to be on Aguilar. Would you believe it or not? Back to the purple.
I have to admit that purple is nice now that we're not casting it for the first bajillion games in a day. But you know, this gank-centric kind of level, very, very important to get that middle every 2 minutes. Whenever that invisible is available, you need to pick it up. So, on your Foxy Knot, you're going to have Rusty Robbie. Raylan being played by Nata Pop in the ever-stylish Raylan outfit that you've got there. And then Ted McPain, Titanium Ted being played by G-Dove. On the blue team, Scoop, Wraithlord, Scoop being played by Paolo. Raylan being played by Kaio in that very nice-looking dress. And finally, Blah, playing your Michael Phelps Frog.
Froggy Phelps.
Froggy Phelps.
Yep. Forever and a day, that is what he will be named.
I will continue. That's a good idea. I like it.
Now, we said a lot about the comfort picks. You know, G-Dove has shown us time and again that you leave a Ted to his own devices and you end up with no more turrets. And this map, again, you know, with the airstrike. He goes with into 1 rank of machine gun damage, and then a little bit of solar. You saw him go back a bit earlier. He picks up the regen as well. So it's going to be harder and harder this early game to kind of just knock him out unless you burst him down, and a nice attempt coming right there. But that return snipe is going to be putting people on the back foot. The blue snipe, of course, not hitting anything here. Now Ion so far traveling as a pack of 3, just kind of clearing out and looking for these early game opportunities to land some machine gun damage on the blue turrets.
The blue turrets will so far stand, though. The Time Rift, obviously a very powerful defensive tool. It's going to keep those droids back and the Ted McPayne back as well. As far as items are concerned, we've got Pounce and Pulse coming out of Rested Robbie's Foxy Knot. We've got the Raylan picking up base abilities, and Ted, G-Dub, going for the usual thing he normally does. Out comes the Bindings. It's almost enough to kill off G-Dub, but G-Dub just barely going to survive, as will Blah. That bounce off almost costing one team each a life, but not in this case. Blah has base abilities. The Raylan going for the piggy bank into damage and range on the snipe. Resty Robbie barely going to survive whatever engagement happened there. Wraith Lord Scoop going for the base abilities as well. So lots of base abilities everywhere. But we have a couple of greedy piggy banking moments between the Raylan on the blue team. Team Boom going and the piggy bank into the machine gun damage on the red team. So far, teams more or less bouncing off each other equally.
Airstrike's going to come out, doesn't actually hit anyone, but it's one thing I don't actually see going well here for Boom is the fact that they got a double melee. We have time rifts, we got airstrikes, and wow, okay, I guess it didn't matter. Natapop is going to be the first blood as Paulo and crew collapse, but a little bit later on, you know, time rifts, the pounces, and the airstrikes are going to be a heck of a thing for the Frog and Scoop to deal with.
The Frog can use dash at an appropriate time to deal with a good chunk of it, but you're right, those airstrikes are still going to be powerful, especially if put in the right spots. It's going to be a matter of whether or not blue team can really utilize their mobility on the Frog and the lack of mobility on the other team with appropriately placed hammers to great effect. Couple that with Kaio's sniping ability, and you can stand to have a lot of trouble on the red team as well, as they are unable to move and will sit there and just take some snipe damage at the same time as anything else. Blah using a dash to get away from the red Raylan snipe. He's going to end up being fine. Out comes the Bindings, the damage. Rest of Robbie going to go down to a dash NATO combo. Blah going to pick up that kill there and bringing it up 2-0 in favor of Team Boom.
Boom really taking this notes from the last game, and they're going to go for this early game domination. The stun into the dash with a snipe, very safe snipe in the back there from Kyle, is actually turning out to be a problem right now for Ion. They're not really dealing with this combo very well, but at the same time, you know, this is very early game. We don't have a lot of scaling now kicking in quite yet. And once we start getting, you know, Robbie and Raylan up with their damage combos, you know, typically it's what? Bug jars, the solar snipes. Well, nope, you can't have a solar snipe anymore. They removed that. But the damage snipes coming in. You get that rolling, and it could be a very different story. But right now it's going to be Boom commanding the solar lead.
And that's to be expected when you got 2 kills and you've been really zoning out a lot of people for a lot of damage. Rest of are going to take a dash and just drop there due to gravity. But as things are starting up here, it's got Twisted Lance on a Scoop. That's going to factor really well into the sniping. You got Double Hammer Pants coming out of the Frog, again factors well into the sniping. And then you've got range and snipe damage, and that's going to continue to be the thing here. That hammer into dash into snipe combo going to continue to be the way to do things. Alongside the Bindings on the Scoop, do not forget that does do damage, and it can do damage from a fair distance.
Yeah, but it's not a cannoli Scoop. Like typically on boss cannoli, if you go Scoop, it's all about the triple binding, it's all about the damage, the bigger burst. But he's really the only one that kind of does that.
He's the only one that seems to have done it as effectively as we've seen, but Boom, if they wish to make the best use of their Scoop pickup, they're going to want to do something very similar with Paolo on that Wraithload Scoop right now. 5 minutes and 24 seconds into this game, still 2-0 in favor of Boom. Ion kind of stabilizing right now. They haven't died in a while. Out comes the hammer, though. Rest of Robbie looking a little bit worse for wear, but that timer is going to end up avoiding the Bindings damage. Blah going to get hit by an airstrike, and now that Invis available, Natapop going to be the one to pick it up.
Invis Raylan Snipes doesn't really feel like that's a very powerful tool.
It's not as threatening as you'd like it to be, but it still can be a problem when you've got those Raylans who can snipe from behind and push you with the snipe. it can always be a bad thing. So it depends on whether or not Boom decides to push in and have that snipe come from behind or not.
Nope.
In comes the time rift. It's going to end up hitting Powell off a little bit, but that's the rest of Robbie going to be the ones to pick up the kill there. G-Dub just barely going to survive. Will he be able to survive the ensuing team onslaught, though, as he goes into this bottom area, picks up the 500, puts out the airstrike to dissuade any followers, and that's going to be on the end of that. That's going to be the first kill on the board for Team Ion. Now 2 machine gun upgrades on G-Dub, and they're going to go ahead and put those to good use.
Look what this does to towers. You sit in the back and you get these towers off. Well, the airstrike's not exactly going to hit, but they got them off the towers for now. The droid going forward, that was like half the tower right there.
At level 2/3 even, and G-Dub really happy to say that, yes, his machine gun does work. He's checked the triggers, he's cleaned the barrel, it is now fully functional. The burst mode is off. Who needs that stuff?
Now, see, this is an Invis Frog. This, well, maybe not this early in the game, but that's definitely a lot more scary than perhaps a Raylan there with the snap. As he said, you couldn't go for the pushback, but I think teams this reactive, especially with a dash and a stun that you can be throwing at people, you know, you kind of set yourself up a little bit as Raylan when you go for those snipes because you don't move. And we did actually have a snipe start off this fight, and Ion definitely looking a little bit worse for wear after the end of all of that. But no kills as of yet, and they did actually put that kill on the board here from Ion, and the tower damage to boot. So not entirely too sure in terms of momentum which way it's actually swinging. In terms of the solar, though, I'd actually go a little bit towards Boom with that one.
Boom absolutely in the lead right now. We've got one person who's sitting at 900 happily, but everybody on Boom has got at least 800 plus. You got a 740 solar on the Penny, and then on the Raylan sitting at 670. She's got next to nothing. Rest of Robbie taking a ton of damage, and down she goes.
Snipe.
Max damage snipe from a decent distance. That's going to be enough. The bindings now also dealing 250 damage on the scoop. That is a fair amount to say the least. Out comes the snipe. Natapop now extremely low. Boom, going for that burst, going for that combo, wombo combo, as you like to say, and they're managing to make it happen. Now, 3 kills on the board for them, and they're going to go ahead and start the push. Now, that seems to be their biggest issue in terms of their lineup. How are they going to capitalize on these kills?
A little surprised that we didn't actually go for a little bit more tower damage into this top because the droids were pushing out, but I guess G-Dub kind of scared them off. We do now have everyone back on the field. And 3-1 right now. Boom is still holding on to the kills, but ooh, nice return snipe. Natapop and Robbie just kind of sitting side by side, and the just the damage of it all really does multiply out when you hit more than one target, doesn't it? Absolutely.
In that case, hitting for 1,500 damage. Not exactly a clunk hitting multiple targets, but it'll still be enough. Blah managing to dash out of that damage, so he's not going to take the majority of that. Out comes the airstrike. It's not going to hit anybody. But that bottom turret now going to maybe take a bit of damage unless if Blah is in here. In comes the dash. The NATO. Down he goes. The sniper too good. Kyle going to get out of there. Resty Robbie going to be unable to really follow through on that kill. Kyle's going to get that HP. Now Resty Robbie running for his life. Out comes the pulse, but and the
dash.
pounce. He's going to end up surviving. The dash not able to be there. That must have been off cooldown.
Yep, just came up now.
So yeah, there you have it. You've got 1 kill more on for Team Boom. That snipe damage proving to be a real menace alongside that bindings damage. And that range proving to be an absolutely valuable upgrade against Natapop, who cannot snipe from that same range and now also has flying droids, going for the push meta instead against a team that can more or less clear out waves pretty decently. Despite that, though, any advantage given to Team Ion, they will definitely be able to abuse that advantage a great deal between all the push. Out comes the snipe. Natapop extremely low, going to go down to that NATO. Now, Scoop coming in is going to not end up hitting anybody with his bindings, but Resty Robbie going to take some dash damage on the backside of that. So now it's 5-1 in favor of Boom. Boom doing an excellent job of getting that early game burst and getting those early game kills and taking the lead. They're going to take that top turret. It's now completely demolished. And that's going to bring the objective game to them as well. Raylan picking up boots and a base time rift. We'll see where the time rift, what ends up happening with the time rift there. Range now picked up on Natapop, so now they can snipe from the same distance. Now they're playing on sort of the same field, except for one's got 750 damage snipes, and the other one is still sitting at 450.
800 versus 1,200 for those Raylans. It's a world of difference when it comes to the money. It's 10 minutes in. Just taking a quick look at the droids, 31 to 37, so it's not really a big difference there. And we even got 2 kills on Natapop, but it really comes down to just the extra solar from a lot of these kills. 5-1, of course, is now going to be the score. Kaio getting the kill there on top of the G-Dub with that snipe. Robbie's now actually going to be on the run. We didn't solidify on top of Blah, so he's actually not going to go down. Makes this a 1-for-0 trade. But Kaio, you know, I know that Natapop really likes his Raylan, but Kaio so far has been showing him how it's done.
Kaio's build being far more aggressive and going for those snipe kills. Natapop going for more of that push route, and out comes the bindings, out comes the snipe, down goes Resty Robbie. Man, that was a lot of damage you couldn't run from if you had tried. Honestly, between bindings, snipe, hammer, and dash, that is a lot of damage to be had. And snipe being built into is a very smart decision out of Kaio. And I'm not saying that what Natapop is doing is wrong. It's in line with what her team has been trying to do as well. Going for more of a push meta. Between G-Dove and those flying droids, you can do a lot of damage to turrets. They already took up a top turret as well, so equalizing that front. In fact, they are winning in terms of turret HP by a tiny bit, but those kills are starting to ramp up. The blue team's starting to get those upgrades that they need in order to push out as well. And Kaio now has a ranged droid as well on the Time Rift. She also has damage on it, so that money that she's getting from these kills really starting to pay off. Out comes the snipe onto G-Dove. G-Dove going to put out that airstrike, but it's not going to end up hitting anybody. Now, quite low, gets stuck in the Time Rift. He's going to have to back off, as will most of Team Boom. But Team Boom going back to farm, Ion going back to heal.
So, as you say, the teams kind of bounce off each other a little bit. 12 minutes in, 8 kills. Both of those top turrets are down, and you are right. But now with both Time Rifts actually having those flying droids, I'm not entirely too sure either side is really going to see a big split push potential, because if they just keep clashing off of each other, well, you're not really going to get too much of an advantage out of them regardless. So I'm a little doubtful right now on Ion, the way they've been building, the way they've been taking these engages. It's not very Ion. Like, we've seen a lot of games from them in the qualifiers because they were in 2 of them. We've seen them now in the top 8. You know, they've won some, they've lost some. Now they're here fighting for their tournament life. But that last game compared to this one is just worlds apart for the early.
And I think that has, again, a lot to do with the item pickups and the strategies that both teams have employed. Natapop trying to switch the strategy up, going for more damage on that Raylan. Whereas the blue team, from start to finish, Boom has been going for that damage, going for that gank potential. And on Aegis, that is something that you desperately want to keep doing. You want to keep getting those kills. You want to be able to press those advantages. And you want to be able to get that kill solar, because honestly, you're not going to be able to do much otherwise. So that's what they're going for here. Binding's going to come out. G-Dove just barely going to survive that engagement, and he's just going to sit down there and get as much machine gun as possible. Natapop going for the snipe. He's not going to end up hitting anything. And the teams, like I've said before, just going to kind of engage and then disengage, bounce off each other, and call it a day.
Yeah. Call it a draw. Let's just stop here for the day. Let's call it truce.
Let's call it truce. Let's just both take fourth. Yeah, not going to happen.
Who's on first?
Who? We've talked about this. His name's Who. So, Abbott and Costello aside, we got Banner the triple scoop coming out on Scoop. Out comes the snipe. G-Dove really low. He's going to eat up both of those creeps. He's looking for that third one. Not going to find it. Blah, Invis. He's going to be looking for one of those kills as well on top of Kaio and Scoop. The 3 of them together can burst down anybody on this red team. So, we'll see what ends up happening.
I was looking to see if maybe the Frog was going to use the invis for a dash into a snipe, but I guess the cooldown wasn't actually out. Kyle just kind of throwing it out there, seeing if they can find any kind of invis, anybody coming up through the jump pads. the airstrike through the Time Rift sounds really funny.
It takes forever to go off. What could be equally hilarious is that with max slow on the Time Rift, you can actually stack Time Rifts on top of each other.
Yeah.
But that was a good airstrike coming out of all that, and a good snipe. But for now, teams kind of taking it easy, not going too aggressive, not trying to put each other into a bad spot. Penny needs a bit more farm to be effective, and the blue team don't want to overstay their welcome anywhere. They don't want to put themselves in a bad spot. But
They're playing the solar game.
They're playing the solar game, but it's a game that I'm not sure they can do as well as the other team. Ion are totally fine with sitting back and playing safe and getting solar.
Yep.
They're able to push extremely hard with that TED. They don't mind taking it easy and just not going for these fights. What would be very bad for Ion is if these fights come out to their doorstep constantly, consistently, applying pressure, and if Team Boom can actually go for those kills, can go and keep applying that pressure and forcing Ion to not push, that might be in Boom's best interest at this point.
Time Rift and Time Rift, droid on droid action. Snipe comes out, doesn't actually hit anybody there from Blue's side, as who went home? Penny actually did end up going home. Natapop and G-Dove, they're really just spamming out their auto attacks, looking to see if anybody's going to be putting their face in the path of the bullets, but so far they are not. Kaio again has been pretty on point again with these stuns, but that was a great hammer into a block kill combo.
A lot has to be said for picking up the snare upgrade on the hammer. We don't see that as often as we might like sometimes. We see the twisted lance, we see cooldown, and we see damage, but the snare duration usually missing from these builds on Scoop. And in this case,
it's time for a baby Curry Mammoth.
Yeah, it's time for a baby Curry Mammoth possibly, but on whom, you ask? Ted not actually owning it, neither does Penny. And Raylan, the only one who actually has access to baby Curry Mammoth on this team.
Won't get it.
And she really doesn't need it either. Like, what's she going to do with it?
So, background of the defense here from Ion, slowly eking out these kills and slowly adding to the advantage here of Boom. We're starting those top tower pushes. A lot of these creeps have started chip damage on the lower tower here as well, top of Ion. So, the more fights that we have up top, the more damage you take down bottom, and vice versa, especially after a death.
Right now, 17 minutes in, and like you mentioned, they're just eking out kills where they can find them, but they're also now starting to go for that push. Kaio going for the alien hand, the piercing on the blaster. So that's going to be able to do a lot of extra damage to those droids.
I haven't seen piercing in ages.
It's a really useful upgrade for pushing. It's one of those things that allows you to do effectively double damage for the for a very low cost. In comes the hammer, in comes the time rift, and bam! Resturabi goes down. Natapop now going for the snipe. It's going to end up killing Kaio, as Kaio takes too long to take off their snipe and cannot run away in time. Out comes the airstrike. It's going to hit Paolo, but he'll end up living for now. Out comes the hammer. It's going to deal a decent amount of damage. The binding is going to be enough to keep him alive as well. Blah looking to put some pressure on these teams, and boom! Out comes the dash. Decides not to follow up with the NATO.
Yeah, if he got caught by the time rift, it was probably over for him.
Yeah, absolutely. But no time rift there, and Frog just gonna force them off. Now 9-2. It's still in favor of Boom. We got a couple of damage upgrades being picked up by Scoop. Scoop going for the quality hammer for extra snare, extra damage, and the extra length. It's the quality hammer. Yep. You know, the hammer not made by any of your children's toys companies, but this is Mastercraft stuff. He's gonna be using that to good effect. Long range.
Thor himself would use that hammer.
Exactly. Thor himself couldn't pick it up if he tried. He would not be worthy. Out comes the snipe. Natapop going for that, but not able to quite find it. Although Natapop does have max damage snipe now. G-Dub taking a lot of damage. He's going to end up going down to a well-placed hammer. Almost 500 damage. Rested Robbie now in a bad spot. He's going to end up dodging that snipe, but not the dash. Now that's going to be a 2-for-0 pickoff in favor of Team Boom. They're now going to look to maybe pick up a little bit of an advantage here. We got Arbe coming out on the Frog. Blah going for that going for the Ted counter there. That's a very powerful upgrade against the Ted McPain.
Yep.
As well as a good counter for Raylan. Both of their blasters now useless during the entire time that NATO is going. And that bottom turret going to go down in favor of Team Boom. So that's now 2-0. It was 2-1 in terms of towers and 11-2 in terms of kills.
11-2 indeed. Boom with 2 towers to their name. That's a 1 tower advantage, 9 kill advantage. And in terms of solo, looking back and forth, it's 3, 5, and 7 is 1,500 solar. Wow, haven't seen Ion on the back foot here since he played up against 99 Cent.
How do you think Ion could come back into this game? Out of curiosity. Oh, well, that's gonna have to wait for a minute.
Not doing that.
Yeah, not doing whatever that was. Penny Fox trying to go in there for a kill and ends up getting killed instead. That's unfortunate. Now Natapop and G-Dove, the only two here to do anything. There's a little bit of a flying droid duel.
Fight.
And, yep, blue droid going to end up winning, but the backup from the red droid going to end up winning that particular droid fight. Who knew that? Raylan played Pokemon.
Still, 1,500 and counting now. For these solar differences, chip damage starting to really surmount. Using those flying droids as well to tank out towers. It's just free damage all around. What can Ion do? Well, they need a better setup. They don't have initiation on this team. Not from behind. When they're behind, it's either going to come down to what? Time rifts or airstrikes or pounces. But you get anywhere close to this Scoop with that snare damage, and boom, look what happens. G-Dog going down in that engage. And again, I got to give a lot of it here to the build that Scoop has run because it keeps people in place. The Froggy has free reign to jump in, and the very safe snipes from the back have just absolutely wrecking the hit point pool.
Absolutely, and now that there's 2 ranks of range, on Kaio snipe, as well as the cooldown upgrade being picked up, that snipe's going to come out often, and it's going to be very frustrating to deal with for this red team. They cannot stay in a protracted fight against Kaio. Kaio going to end up winning those engagements from a very safe distance.
Yep.
If the red team is not careful.
Natapop, to his credit, does have the double range, triple damage now, but ooh, Frosty Robbie drops to the Paolo, and you said a little bit about those bindings, right? You cannot forget those bindings. That's how that kill happened right there.
And those bindings are something to be feared. They've got Idol of the Ice Queen on them, so that's 330 damage whenever they land. It is a very
decent.
It's a decent upgrade, all things considered. And it doesn't sound like a lot of damage compared to some other knots, but considering the range that it does and the difference in HP it creates between the Scoop and his adversaries, it is a very effective upgrade. And it allows you to do a lot in terms of player killing. Not a lot in terms of droid farming since it only hits players, but it's still a very useful upgrade to pick up in that case. Banner of the Triple Scoop also being picked up, a 2nd rank, and some pills. So Scoop going in for that AoE damage, as is his usual mantra. Frog maxing out his dash damage now, and he's still going in for that burst. He's got the defensive right back at you, upgrade for his NATO. On the red team, you have piercing and you have damage over time on the airstrike. You're finally picking up some time rift damage on Natapop. And then you've got the range and the silence and 2 ranks of the damage on the pulse. That pulse right now able to increase the damage of Natapop's snipe to 900 if it lands. So what I think they need to do on Ion is land a really good opportunity through pulse into the rest of the abilities. But right now, they're on their back foot. They're playing very safe, very cagey. They don't want to give any more kills if they have to. But this defensive game is only going to last for so long before the red team just collapses. Boom is eventually going to win at this rate.
Yeah, eventually. That's we've used that word a lot today.
I think that it's kind of the word of the day.
It is. This cast brought to you by Eventually. 14-2. Nothing else here for Ion to do. There's no way for them to kind of safely get these engages in without deadly recourse. We're not getting any picks because so far it's been a pretty compact thing here. Boom does not split up. It's one of the best things you can do in this MOBA genre, this brawler genre. If you have doubts, stay together. You're much stronger as a unit than you are on solo. G-Dove is going to get a little bit of poke damage there on top of Paolo, but no big follow-up, and it wasn't deadly damage, so to speak. Kaio has just been absolutely on point with a lot of these snipes. He sniped at the top, he goes bottom, he snipes at the bottom, he puts up a time rift, and chip damage, pressure, everything is on the left side of the map here because Ion is literally forced behind their towers, behind their barrier. And we talked a little bit about in the previous game's line of scrimmage. It's literally the towers right now because if Ion goes past them and they get caught, it's game over.
At the same time, though, they need to make something happen here. They either need to let Boom into their base and get them someplace where it's able to get them into a really bad spot, or they need to go out there and find a pickoff. But at this rate, the sitting back strategy not working out for them. It's a very slow death for Ion right now, the rate this is going.
There's no solar laser, there's no Vinny for the solar cloud. There's no Voltar who can heal or get cash off heals. Like there's no extra solar mechanics here to catch up with. And when you lose out your jungle, you lose out a lot of the farm, you lose out just the map presence. Yeah, guess what? You're going to start losing solar.
Yeah, and in this case, out comes the dash, the damage, Rested Robbie being picked up. The time rift not well placed enough. G-Dove taking some damage as well from the dash and from the sword strikes and the fish gun. But he'll end up surviving, and that's going to be another pickoff in favor of Boom. Ion really playing from behind here. They do desperately need to get some real pickoffs, but
I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either at this rate. Blah.
You can't even leave your towers. I believe I just said that. Please listen to me in the future, teams. You poke out your tower, done. Hammer. I did just say that, right? I know this game is like minutes old now, but
yeah, it's definitely at that stage in the game now where if you poke out, it's going to be a very bad day. But they still need to make something happen. It's so far in the game, and they're so far behind that it's really difficult to say that they can actually make anything out of this.
Well, I'm not saying they can make anything out of it at all. You're the one trying to push that on me.
that's a fair point, but like Ion could bring this back, but they definitely need to have a perfect combination between Time Rift and everything of practically everybody on the blue team. Like, they need to effectively be playing against suddenly League 9s, and that might be a tall order.
Well, we actually just had the hit points drop immensely there throughout the blue. That's going to be now a snipe coming out. That actually returns a lot of damage there on top of Robbie, so he's basically out of this fight at this point. Natapop's not going to get jumped. He did actually land in top of that Time Rift, but nope, that's going to stop the hammer as well. Natapop not getting hit, doesn't hit anything in return though, and a little bit back to the farming game. This turret did not really take that much damage. I mean, we even had G-Dove early game, Ted with the machine guns. Wasn't enough.
No, and I think that had a lot to do with the early rail-in on rail-in action. Just one rail-in managing to get off those snipes and that burst damage alongside the scoop pickup. Whereas the other rail-in was a little bit late to that party and unfortunately was unable to really get those pickoffs that he really needed. Natapop unable to get those pickoffs that they needed in order to get that extra money that they desperately wanted.
I was actually really afraid of Robbie right there because he was just kind of sitting there. There was a frog in front of him, then a hammer came out, but there was no initiation. He was able to get back behind his barrier. And once again, we're relegated to defense here from Ion. And, oh, that's actually going to be the big combo on top of him. That we came out a little too late, though, with the tornado. So it's not going to be quite the kill, but it will force the Penny back probably to Fountain as the rest of Ion is just going to go back to defense again. But like, this is a ticking time bomb.
Absolutely, and there was an opportunity there to pick off Blah. I mean, it almost happened, but the Pounce unable to land on the right character.
Yeah, the tornado came out late as well.
Yeah, exactly. Had the tornado attempted to come out a little bit earlier and that Pounce happened to hit him into the turret, Blah would have been very dead, but out comes a really well-placed hammer into a triple snipe. The entirety of Ion going to survive, but they're going to take a lot of damage. In the meantime, they're going to have to go back and heal and play very carefully. If they get another hammer into snipe combination like that, Boom might be able to just pick them all off at the same time. So
now you talked a bit about this earlier, but Kaio, you know, not only is she landing the time rifts and the snipes, and we had a triple hammer, triple dash right there. Her auto attacks can potentially hit up to 3 people as well because of the pierce.
And for a decent amount of damage, she's picked up the receding hairline ponytail. You know, Steven Seagal reference right there, but got that upgrade that's +3 damage on every bullet that she tosses out, whether it be droids, whether it be people, whether it be turrets. That's a very strong upgrade for pushing and for dealing damage in general. So
16-2. Boom, still very much on track to bring this to a 1-1 and take us to that coveted Game 3. A lot of Game 3s today in the lower bracket. Man, these teams are just absolutely insane.
Yeah, these teams are very well matched. And it's a contest. People really want to win this. And out comes the hammer, the bindings, and the dash, and the NATO. So that's going to be, that's likely to be game as the 3 of these now up against Rusty Robbie. Unless Rusty Robbie somehow plays out of his mind, this is not going to end very well for them. Out comes the pulse. Rusty Robbie going in for some more damage. Are we going to see a pounce? Not likely. And that's going to be half of the core down. Another pulse going to hit. Kaio going to have to back off for now. Blah going to take a decent amount of damage as well. Okay. And it's not quite game yet, but that's dang close. Half the core gone, just like that, off of what was a very powerful hammer dash NATO combo.
Really? I'm a little surprised that they actually backed off as early as they did. Probably, I would have said probably could have bring it down to quarter, but who knows? A lot of cash under their pockets, and then looking at the difference between them, oh, it's an immense amount, Mr. Wolf. 700, 900, and 1,200? No, 1,400.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's close to the $3,000 mark.
Yeah, and you can see that Scoop picking up a lot. The second sword stab upgrade, meaning that he's doing a lot of damage with his second swing. He's got his second rank of Spoonman, his first rank of attack speed. Out comes the bindings. The snipe going to hit G-Dove. G-Dove going to end up going down. Natapop down to almost nothing. He's just going to teleport home before Blah can catch him out. Nope. So he's going to end up surviving for now. And Rusty Robbie's still alive. Kaio going to pick up these 2 droids. there just to get his HP back up. And now Blah looking to maybe get a pick off or something. Just there we go.
Oh my gosh.
Scoop proving to be the initiator for this team needed in order for Boom to bring it to a 1-1 series.
This is a stickler pick. Paula, we've seen him play Scoop time and time and time again, and it was enough. They had no actual initiation from Ion. Absolutely none. They could not get near him.
No, and as a result, every single fight that ended up happening was on Boom's turf. Every single time Scoop landed a good hammer, there was a snipe to follow it up and a dash needed to go with it. Every single fight was on their terms.
Right.
Yeah, and like you said, don't forget the binding. It's a decent amount of damage too.
I mean, again, like Boss Cannoli, that's really the only person I've ever seen kind of upgrade these big bindings to kind of go for the big damage Scoop. But color me impressed. That was an 8-1 Scoop and an 8-0 Frog.
Yep, almost 2 legendaries.
110 Penny.
Yeah.
Penny did not last.
No, Penny was unfortunately outdrafted. I mean, Penny's not invulnerable.
She was first pick, I believe.
Yeah, and Penny's a very strong pickup. But if that Scoop's left on the field, or if anybody with a reliable snare is left on the field, Penny has a very difficult time dealing with it. Coco, another very valuable answer, as well as Skoldir against that pickup. Exactly. So Scoop being still on the field, that's a very good answer to a Penny as long as you can use it properly. And in this case, Hammer on its own, not enough damage. But Hammer with a snipe and a dash NATO, yeah, I'll be enough damage early game. And they're going to go ahead and take that up. So